Day 1. I'm Ranger Lisette Harris, Cherokee, and a former Army medic. I never believed in legends until tonight, when our small charter aircraft was torn apart by a freak storm over Lake Superior. I thought it was just bad luck. After the crash, 6 of us staggered out of the wreckage into the dark, damp tangle of pine and birch. No signal on our phones, no aircraft locator beacon, too dense for satellite rescue. Just us, bloodied, freezing, and alone. The rest of the passengers, gone. We tried hiking toward the lake's edge, but the forest was unending, and so was the storm. Day 2, early morning, we found a muddy clearing. We scrounged what we could from the wreckage. Bottled water, emergency flares, a small first aid kit I managed to salvage. We split into groups to search for high ground. I took point with Marcus, a school teacher, and Luis, a courier. Angela, Derek, and Becca stayed back to build a shelter. Around noon, the storm returned, brutal and sudden, draping the forest in thunder. The wind rattled the trees, and I, listening, heard a sound beneath the thunder. A low, droning hum, like helicopter blades, but organic. I called Marcus and Luis over. We saw movement in the canopy. A branch snapped, then another, as if something too large to climb was moving overhead. I raised my hand. Stop. Angela's flare gun was still with us. Later, I asked her why she hadn't fired. She said, "I thought about it. Whatever it was, I didn't want to hit something bigger." We kept moving, shaken. Something felt intelligent. Day 3. That night, cold and exhausted, we took turns standing watch. I had my turn just before midnight, the forest engulfed in fog. I heard something high above, the roar of wind, but louder. Something sliced through the air, slicing consciousness with it. Becca screamed. We heard flapping, massive. Angela fired her last flare. Red spat out into the sky. The flare lit up the fog, and everything fell silent. Above us, a bird the size of a glider drifted between gaps in the fog. Long-hooked talons, wings spanning at least 30 feet, stretching beyond the tree line. 2 glowing eyes stared down. It circled once and disappeared into the black ceiling of clouds. No audible wing beat, no sound, only presence. Day 4. The next morning, anxiety fractured the group. Derek refused to leave the clearing. He said the Thunderbird had bombed us into submission. Luis insisted we were chosen. Marcus tried to mediate, but nearly got in fists with Derek. Becca was crying that we were marked in order. I felt it too. The sense that we were too many, too small. And for what? The stories I'd heard from my elders came rushing back. My grandmother calling the Thunderbird the chooser of men, a creature that judged the unworthy with storms. Luis disappeared around mid-afternoon. We called him nothing. I found his boots and sliced trousers by a cluster of ferns, just footprints walking upward, not away, into the treetops. His belt and pack were gone. No blood, nothing, a clean vanishing. We were now 5, then 4. Becca refused to walk. Angela was feverish. Marcus demanded we rest. At dusk, Derek stormed out into the fog. We chased him. He came running back, screaming his ankles had been grabbed. Nothing sawed them, but they hurt like claws. 1 ankle swollen, 2 deep gashes bleeding. He claimed he felt the claws squeeze him like he was prey. Day 5. That night, there was only us and the storm. The wind howled across the dying trees. Becca's flare gun was gone. Angela couldn't stand. I could barely move from exhaustion and cold. Marcus and I decided we had to make a break at dawn. Just before dawn, a scream cracked the air. Angela sat upright. She looked beyond our shelter into the black canopy above and mouthed something I couldn't hear. Then she vanished from the forest floor, like Luis, just gone. That left Marcus and me. We cowered as vortexes of wind swirled above, and then the sound returned, a hush before thunder. Marcus found a coil of rope. "Tie it to a tree. We abseil down slope to the ridge," he said. I nodded, trembling. We fired our final flare together. It fizzed into the fog. The glow revealed a bird silhouette at cloud base. Angular, enormous, wings unfurled. It dove, no warning. Marcus went first, snatched from the rope, arms ripping loose, falling into darkness. I screamed. Then it hovered for a second above me, gravity shifting in the storm. I couldn't breathe. Then it snapped upward into the fog. The roar vanished. The wind dropped. I lay there, bleeding, alone. They found me 3 days later. Helicopters airlifted me from a ridge overlooking Lake Superior. No trace of the others. The credit to rescue was placed in my file. Lucky survivor of crash. But I didn't survive the crash. I survived what came afterward. My name is Malachi Red Eagle, Cherokee ornithologist, 27 years old, studying migrations off the Alaskan coast. 2 weeks into a remote station program, I realized I'd sent 5 years' worth of letters to my father without a single reply. I still loved him, still remembered how I grew up on those ancestral lands. But everything between us had burned out. Then I met Yuri, an artist and fellow bird lover. On days off, we'd wander moss-carpeted trails, pointing at Arctic terns or sculpting feathers with charcoal. I remember telling her one dusk, "I feel so blessed." She laughed, lips curling. "You're such a romantic. Shut up and kiss me." I felt alive again. 6 months later, our contract over, we moved into our first apartment together. I still had that unopened letter, now 3 weeks old. Yuri picked it up. "Baby, do you want to go?" He asked if you'd visit. I shook my head. "No." She reached for me. "You don't have to." But he still hasn't tried to fix anything. "Ever since what?" I exhaled hard. "Since Mother was murdered." Her eyes taut. "Did they ever catch the person who did it?" A long pause. "It wasn't a person. It was a large flying creature." She squeezed my hand softly. "Then we go together." We packed. 10-hour flight. 2-hour drive across Golden Plains into the rising hills of my childhood. My father met us at the door. Weathered face, eyes pale but steady. First words were to Yuri, "What a beautiful woman you are." To me, he offered a handshake. "Gets hot this time of year. I couldn't grow much hair." His attempt at humor felt empty. Inside, every corner echoed memory. Wind chime on the porch, cedar bowls on a shelf, the faded photograph of my mother surrounded by candlelight in the living room. "She was the best mother I could ever give my son," he said, voice heavy. "Nature hasn't been kind ever since." During dinner, corned beef stew over rice, I watched him stir the pot slowly. My heart thudded. Yuri prompted me to ask what happened. I couldn't until I did. He stood abruptly, turning away. Minutes later, he returned, eyes cold. "The sky demon. That's what happened." My breath caught as he told it. His desperation one autumn when we were poor. The elders warned of the Thunderbird, the sky hunter that judged wrongdoers with lightning and storm. He'd sneaked into their hut and stolen their share money, $70 in cash. Men chased him back to the store. Elders declared, "He's no longer in our hands now." The skies darkened afterward, and every man in the village who angered fate vanished, lifted into thunder clouds with a clap of wings and thunder. When Mom and he swore to protect me by confronting it, he went out hunting arrows in hand, only to be lifted into the sky, claws ripping his shoulders as he fell in agony. In the moment he lay gasping on the ground, she locked eyes with him, and then vanished herself into the storm. He survived, broken. He lost their nest, their daughter, everything. He told me, "My son, I'm so sorry for pulling away. I lost something that's never coming back, but I wanted you to know you were always loved. You were everything I had left." He stepped forward and pulled me into a hug. I was restless, aching with tears I didn't know I had. We stood together under the dying sun, shadows long on the land. Yuri slipped an arm through mine. The air grew colder, raw, like the sky was listening. I don't know if I believe in gods or spirits, but I believed that day. I felt her presence in the wind across the plains. I felt my mother in the candle flame and in the rock sweet of home soil. My father found his way again that evening, through my forgiveness and Yuri's patience, and I found mine. The creature that took her, whatever waits in the skies, does not own our hearts. And that's a kind of truth worth holding.